about, the cash position that we're in because of the rate environment.
So we have received, of course, the certified values and then the new calculations of the tax rate. We'll share our screen here. This updated spreadsheet is, of course, on the budget workshop drive today, unfortunately. But that one is just one that's there. We've had questions, and we can always adjust as more information comes in.
Good.
The other ones that we'll need to come back to in this department are the MHMR contracts. And then, of course, those will come in for your review in this next month. The animal birth control clinic. So they increased their ask this year to that $125,000. You had questions about what the city was contributing to ABC. And so what we have found out, they currently and have for some years now, their budget is $166,000. Theirs is a little bit different than ours. So what's happening there is they budget, and then they have an agreement with, of course, with ABC, and they're being billed per instance per surgery and microchip. And so theirs, they've budgeted 166 for a while, but from what I gathered, it's just a flat rate that has been sufficient to cover the amount that's billed to them monthly. So they have not adjusted that for a while, but it's, again, just based on how many instances they are actually billing for.
So that's a little different than our arrangement where we're just giving them flat money to do whatever they
To cover the areas outside outside the incorporated cities. Yes, sir. So with the 125,000, it's just down at the bottom of perfect. That section there. She says that, to reach the areas in need, this would cover over 1,500 animals. They would receive spay, neuter, and microchip. And that the 19,000, the past funding level, is exhausted within 3 months, usually. Economic Development Department. The Sports Commission asked for an increase in funding of $30,000, so this would increase to $130,000 from our previous $100,000. You had asked about the city of Waco and what they had funded and what they planned on funding. They have always contributed $75,000, and of course their budget is not adopted yet either, but the plan is that they would continue the $75,000 level of funding into next year. Stay on our timeline. Those letters need to go out from the judge's office today. So I just wanted to just come back here and just make sure, that we all knew what those ending numbers look like. Everyone has received a COLA on this list. So the right side is just what our fiscal year 22 elected official salaries look like. Some of the judges are, the COLA doesn't apply to them because those numbers are set a different way. But the ones that are highlighted in yellow, those were the amounts that Anna spoke on and recommended moving those up to a certain level. And then, of course, the COLA is added on top of that. So I just wanted to just make sure that we were all still, agreeable to those amounts, just because those letters do need to go out today. And we hadn't really
The
looked at.
adjustments came in the highlighted yellow,
Yes, sir.
and that was due to the fact that they were out of our criterion.
Yes. Yes. So you brought those up.
Between now and the final adoption, which is August the 24th, we will come back and talk about the disposition of any of the funds that are over and above the policy of our unassigned fund balance policy of 33%, and how we, if we choose to apply any of those towards things. And one of the one item was on our retirement debt. It looks like there's about a little over $90,000. For every $1 million we pay down on that debt, there's a little over 90,000 and some change.
Correct. So
Savings that goes up over time if salaries are adjusted up.
that's correct. So yeah, those paying in $1 million or whatever the amount may be is going to affect of course, you're going to be out that cash for the year to pay down that debt, but then it's gonna affect your retirement rate also,
Right.
so.
And right, the cash position that we're in because of the rate, environment.
So we have received, of course, the certified values and then the new calculations of the tax rate. We'll share our screen here. This updated spreadsheet is, of course, on the budget workshop drive today, unfortunately. But that one is just one that's there. We've had questions and we can always adjust as more information comes in.
Good.
The other ones that we'll need to come back to in this department are the MHMR contracts. Of course, those will come in for your review in this next month. The animal birth control clinic. So they increased their ask this year to that 125,000. You had questions about what the city was contributing to ABC. And so what we have found out, they currently and have for some years.
The agenda was posted on Thursday, September 30th, 2021 at 3:40 p.m. and the supplemental agenda was posted on Friday, October 1st, 2021 at 3:30 p.m.
Thank you. All right, let's stand briefly for a moment of silence, and then we'll have the pledge to the flags.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're open.
Judge, we're not picking up any sound from the courtroom.
Okay, hang on.
I don't think these microphones are on.
Your speaker is not. Mic check. Sorry, one moment, y'all.
Okay. One of y'all want to go ahead and come up to the,
I'm sorry.
Reagan, quit harassing the guest. Now just hang on a minute.
You can take your mask off if you want to.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have said that.
Mic check, mic check.
Dustin, can you hear us? Must be no.
All right, we're starting to get sound now.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going into the public comments portion, and we do have a guest here, but Reagan, did we have anybody else that wanted to call in? Okay. All right, good morning, sir. If you'll introduce yourself, give your address, and limit your comments to around 3 minutes.
Okay, it'll be pretty short. My name's Cody Hobbs. I live on Hobbs Lane, 535 Hobbs Lane in Robinson. We've noticed over the past year, probably year, that there's been a lot more traffic with the big gravel trucks coming down the road. And recently, as I'm sure y'all are aware, the last few years, the bridge was rebuilt, and that was out for a very long time. And when it finally got rebuilt, I think it was 6 months after that, the big holes started appearing in the bridge already after they had completely redid the bridge. And I blame that on the big trucks that were going through, honestly. So that we live on a very small road also. It's out in the middle of, the country, and there's a lot of people that walk and jog and ride their bicycles down there. And it's just very dangerous with those big trucks going through that small road. even with cars, when I'm driving, trying to, you got to get out of the way for them. And not on my road, but 2 different times in the last 5 years, I've been driving and one of those trucks hit me with a rock. I was being passed on Highway 6 one time, and a rock came off and broke the windshield. So it's just a lot of hassle that everybody's kind of just tired of. So
Okay,
that's all I have.
thank you very much.
Great.
Greg Hobbs. I also live at 535 Hobbs Lane. And I agree with a lot of the things that Cody had just said about the trucks coming up and down the road. And we don't want that good road that y'all have got on our street to become pothole haven. And that's what's going to happen if the big trucks continue to come up and down the road. And we would have really appreciated if y'all would put a sign up on each side saying, no big trucks. And like Cody said, you got a bigger truck than the car, so that road is not real wide. So a lot of times, those truck drivers, I can see their side of the coin because they can't see where the right side of the shoulder is. So they're afraid of running off the road, so they scoot over into our side. So you have sometimes difficulty, and speed also has a lot to do with it. That's another thing that really gripes us is there's a lot of people that come both ways, up and down. And when they get past our house, you can hear them accelerate to go a lot faster down the road. So if y'all could possibly get a little patrol on there, hopefully I'm not the one that gets caught. But that would help us also, because like Cody said, there's a lot of people that jog, walk, ride bicycles down that road, and it's sometimes the people that are driving, they don't care if you're there or not. They never slow down. They just keep on going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
No, you over here pretty well said it.
Okay, well, thank y'all for your participation in our court process.
You taught them well, Charlie.
Does that bridge have a weight?
Talk up a little bit. He's deaf in one ear and can't hear out the other.
See ya. Okay. All right, at this time, we'll go to item D under proclamations. We have a proclamation recognizing October 3rd through the 9th as National 4-H Week. There's no one in court to accept that, so I would make a motion that we approve that proclamation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Under D2 is a ratification of proclamation honoring and recognizing doctors, Pastor Jimmy D. And First Lady Pamela Hunter on their 20th pastoral anniversary at the Tolliver Chapel Missionary Baptist Church.
Good morning, and Judge, if you don't mind, we can do D2 and D3 together.
Okay,
Both of those proclamations, the first one recognizing Dr. Jimmy D. Hunter and Dr. Pamela Hunter, have been presented to the recipients, as well as the one in love and memory of Mrs. Vera McCoy. You may remember that name. We just gave her a proclamation honoring her 100th birthday.
yeah.
So we're glad to see that she made that milestone, but that has happened to the family. We keep that in our prayers, but today, if there are no questions from the court, I would move the approval of D2 and D3.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, have motion second on items D1, D2 and D3. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. All right. Going to item E on the consent agenda, Dustin?
Yes, sir. So Judge, we have one suggested pool this week. It's item E7, burn ban.
Okay, with the exception, is there any other pulls recommended by the court? If not, with the exception of the item E7, is there,
I
yes,
have one short comment on E5A, just to make sure something's clear.
all right. And we'll pull E5A. Is there any other pulls? If there's no other pulls, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of those two previously mentioned pulls?
So move.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Okay, E5A, is that what you did?
Yes, sir.
Did
I
you
just
have
wanted to make
comment?
sure it was clear what was being approved there, and just for our records also. I know Amy Lowry submitted an explanation of some things that occurred when four of them were to attend a conference, and there was, of course, canceled flights, and then some issues with billing from the hotel. But in the end, the Veterans Court grant, as well as the VA and the Texas Association of Specialty Courts, they covered all the cost. But there are two costs that we do need to reclass from the grant to general fund that the grant is not going to accept as allowable. And
Okay.
those being the registration fee for the one employee in Jackson who was not able to ever make it to the conference. We're still liable for that, as well as a one-night hotel stay for her that someone is out of pocket. The total of those is $940.31. And so, there's no activity or completion certificate,
Right.
so the grant doesn't see that as allowable.
Okay.
Of course, we wouldn't want anyone to be out that, so we just need acceptance to charge those to the general fund.
Okay.
There is sufficient budget there to do so.
All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the recommendation.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? Other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Dustin, I'd like to hold burn ban until Elizabeth comes on, and then we'll ask her, and then we can go back to that full item.
Okay, very good. Judge, is Judge Coley in the courtroom yet?
Not yet.
All right, we can go ahead and go to Elizabeth's item then. So under item M1, update on matters regarding COVID-19. Elizabeth?
Morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, everyone. Just want to give everybody an update. The Regional Infusion Center is up and running. As of yesterday morning, they had done 118 infusions at the site. I don't have yesterday's numbers, but they have done 118 as of all last week. So it's been really good. So they've had some good, strong attendance there. So that site is working out very well for our residents. So we're grateful to have that site. And thank you to Judge for helping out to making sure we could get that Regeneron. That was really big help for us to make sure we could have that site up and operating for this last week and this coming up week.
Yes, sir. Just keep me informed if we need to do any more.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, one question, Elizabeth, on the burn ban, the numbers, can you give us the numbers and what the recommendation to leave the burn ban on or take it off?
Yes. So I just looked up the numbers as of yesterday. The minimum was for the KDBI, the Ketchum Byram. Let me make sure I get the right name. The Ketchum Byram Drought Index. The minimum was 403. The max was 625, and the median leaves us at 519. With that 519, that's still pretty high, and the fact that we still don't have any rain kind of anywhere near in the forecast.
Right.
I would definitely recommend that we extend the burn ban at least for another week at least another week or two to see if we get some rain in the future.
Okay, and Dustin, if we take no action, then the burn ban stays in place, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, no action needed. All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Anything else, Elizabeth?
That's
Judge,
it.
we've got one other item for her under item F1J, emergency management discussion and/or action regarding additional operational expenditures. These are under our budget amendments.
Okay,
So,
can we hold that? Elizabeth, if you got just a minute, I'd like to hold that. Judge Coley's in the court, and so Dustin, if you will go to that item.
Yes, sir. So under item K5 regarding the Texas Veterans Commission Fund for Veterans Assistance, Veterans Treatment Court Grant, update on grant program. I'd like to call on Amy Lowry and Judge Coley.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us today.
And let me say that in this courtroom, it's up to you if you want to wear your mask or not. If you feel like you want one, fine, but it's not mandatory. Thank you. All right, may proceed.
So, thank you, everyone. We just wanted to give a quick update on our Veterans Treatment Court. We just had our Texas Veterans Commission grant renewed this year, so we're very excited about that. It was renewed in the amount of $150,000. And so again, that's a continuation grant, so we can continue to do all the wonderful things that we've been doing. So just to give you an update on just a little bit of good news that we've done in our program, I've got a couple stories for you. So one participant, before Veterans Treatment Court, he was failing at probation. He could not maintain a drug-free lifestyle. But as a Veterans Treatment Court participant, he is about to complete his education. He's moved to a sober housing environment. He's successfully completed treatment, all while experiencing multiple deaths, and continues to gain days of sobriety, and supports and encourages his fellow Veterans Treatment participants in their recovery. So he's had a huge transformation, and we are so proud of him. Another young man, he is a combat veteran, who is feeling emotions for the first time in years because of his PTSD. And he's just now processing his trauma from his combat. He is considering the impact of his actions on others for the first time, maintaining employment, and he started putting money in an envelope every time he wants to drink. And in 6 months, he's been able to buy himself a new vehicle.
Great.
So we are so proud of all of our participants. Since we started our program just under 2 years ago, we've had 19 participants in our program with 3 graduates. So just kind of big picture of kind of what we're doing now. Again, 3 graduates, we have 3 pending admission, 13 active right now. 6 participants have repaired 1 or more relationships with their family. 6 have obtained new housing since entering the program. 5 have gone back to school. 6 have obtained new employment. 4 have learned to use technology, which is huge because of COVID. 5 participants have applied for or increased their VA benefits, and 2 have improved their credit. So not only have they stayed out of jail, improved their lives, this program is life-changing. And we are so thankful for the support of our county, from Texas Veterans Commission, and all of our community. And we just want to say thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks to each one of y'all. We couldn't do this without y'all's support, and we really do appreciate your continued support for the program.
And for all of our team that's with us today.
Right, and I want to welcome each and every one of y'all here. Like many of the programs that we tried to start a year and a half or 2 years ago, had a little blip with the COVID-19 situation, but it's great to hear the success that we knew would happen. And I want to thank Josh Boderud for helping us create these courts, and worked real close with our group to do that. And then, of course, we have Veterans Court and also the Mental Health Court, which we think will be really change our county and how we approach a serious situation in mental health and drug and alcohol abuse that affects many, including our veterans. I think we have a check here that we would like to get a photo op of everyone to get the Commissioner's Court, and as well as the members. And I think, who's going to take the picture? I saw there was a camera back there. And so why don't you tell us how you want to do it?
Hold that check.
Hold that check.
Hey, it didn't bounce.
Okay, where does everybody want to be?
How do we want to do this?
If someone's gonna be on the other side holding the check, I'm assuming?
Oh, for me?
There you go. And then anyone else in the middle that wants to get in the middle,
No, you get around here. I'm big enough. Trust me, I'm gonna show in the back. I don't need to be up front.
Here we go. And everyone ready? 3, 2, I'm gonna take a couple of them. One more. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank y'all so much.
Many more of these. Good to see you. All right. Sure good to see you. All right. And you will have to put your mask back on. Somebody else runs that part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I have it? Oh, yes, yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's great to have an opportunity to celebrate successes
Yes.
from time to time, and I think we have quite a few, and we need to be sure we have those celebrations for that. And really, I should have said it earlier, but also Judge Coley's leadership has been outstanding, and he is a person that takes a real common sense approach on how to solve problems, and appreciate him very much.
Judge, did we move to accept that for recording? Have we already done that?
Is it an action item? I was looking
It says
also.
motion to accept for recording, so action needed.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to accept this last celebration for recording purposes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right.
All right, we'll go back to item F1J, emergency management, discussion and/or action regarding additional operational expenditures. I'd like to call on Elizabeth and Francis, please.
Good morning. So I want to talk about, so for our emergency management budget last year, with COVID-19, we were down to basically zero in our operating budget. So we had to take a budget amendment to the city of Waco for $64,734. That was to cover the rest of our operating expenses. So we continue with our department's functions until the end of the fiscal year for last fiscal year. We have sent all those numbers to Francis, and a lot of it was just because of COVID-19. We incurred a lot of those costs for special services, temp services to help out with the EOC, an increase in facility rent for helping out with the federal surge testing program, and an increase in supplies overall. And so we are just wanting to bring this budget amendment to you guys due to the fact that there is a 50-50 cost split. So that cost should be 50% for the county, should be half of that $64,734. Not sure if Francis has anything else she would like to add to that.
Okay. And so like, Elizabeth said, we budget for this, based on an estimate of what the county's portion will be. But like she said, we'll need to do a budget amendment to increase it by $32,367. Correct, Elizabeth? Half of the 64?
Yes.
Okay. There's not a formal budget amendment on the agenda. We didn't have that information for this morning, but you can, verbally approve increasing that line item by that amount from another line that has excess funds. And this is for fiscal year 21.
Okay, any questions anyone have? All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to increase the operational expenditures for emergency management by $32,367.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose, pass. Okay, Dustin.
Item K1A, discussion and presentation on the potential use of active pure technology to mitigate COVID-19 exposure. I'd like to call on Clark Hood.
Hey, thank you, Dustin. Good morning, Judge Felton, and
Morning.
really glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the Active Pure technology with this group. And my name is Clark Hood. I'm Vice President of Business Development with Active Pure. You should have received a couple of handouts. I may reference these during our discussion. There's a lot of information in there, so I'm going to try to summarize a portion of it, and then certainly open it up to questions and answers. If the court pleases, I wanted to just give a brief background on the company, the technology, and then talk a little bit about some of the lab testing we've done and some of the on-site testing we did in McLennan County recently. So company itself, Active Pure, we're based in Dallas. We're a 97-year-old company. We're a global company. We've been around for quite a while. We're in over 70 countries. The company itself is a global leader in surface and air disinfection systems, and this is for healthcare and educational institutions, along with commercial and public facilities. Really, anywhere there's indoor space that you want to be protected. The technology itself was originated back in the 90s by NASA. We acquired the technology in 2009, so we've had it now for just a little over 12 years. So in kind of a brief one-sentence summary of what the technology does, Active Pure is actually, and it's proven itself to safely and continuously eliminate pathogens, not only in the air, but on surfaces. And this includes SARS-CoV-2, which of course is the virus that causes COVID-19. We also have technology that's FDA cleared for use now as a Class 2 medical device. So a little bit about how the technology works. And it works through a process known as photocatalysis, which is the definition of that really just means the acceleration of a chemical process. So let me kind of explain that kind of in layman's terms. And if we think about Mother Nature outside, Mother Nature uses what we call UV radiation from the sun. And what it's really doing is breaking down the oxygen and the water molecules that are in the air to what we call oxidize them, or eliminate what the harmful chemicals are and pathogens that would otherwise really make the air unbreathable. So what we're doing is to create this process indoors, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing the outside in. We continuously generate these proactive generating molecules that are released into the airspace to actually deactivate viruses, mold, bacteria, and other pathogens that are not only in the air, but on the surfaces. And basically what it does is it renders them inactive. And in a more descriptive way of how we do it with our systems or with our devices, the oxygen and water that's already in the room, it's just basically the ambient air that's in the room. It enters our Active Pure system, and it passes through what we call a honeycomb matrix and transforms into these oxidizers. So when they're released back into the air, they quickly locate, eliminate the pathogens that are in the air, basically rendering them inactive and no longer infectious. And then afterward, the remaining organism that's left continues to break down and really turns into CO2 and H2O, which is carbon dioxide and water. So what I think is really important to know about this technology is because we're continuously releasing these molecules into the air, they are constantly and continuously cleaning and disinfecting to eliminate the viruses and the bacteria as soon as they enter the air. So real-time exposures are really important to disinfect rather than waiting on cleaning operations to commence, which happens sometimes frequently by wiping down surfaces and using other methodologies. But our goal as a company is to be able to continuously do this 24/7 in occupied places. It's safe as well for those areas. In June of last year, I think I mentioned we had the Active Pure Medical Guardian received its Class 2 clearance, which is a multi-year process. So it's something that takes quite a while. The application is submitted, and there's a full review by the FDA to make sure it meets the safety and efficacy standards that they hold. So while this technology's been around for a while, it really came to be so much more and critically important last year when COVID hit. So one of the things we test for is we test for a lot of different bacterias and funguses and viruses such as H1N1, norovirus, mold, spores, MRSA, staph. All of those elements were very successful in eliminating, but we really needed to prove how we could do against COVID-19. So what we do is we contracted with UTMB in Galveston. It's a lab. It's one of the top biosafety testing facilities in the world. They're a military lab. They also test for the CDC, Center for Disease Control. And we take a live SARS-CoV-2 virus and we actually release that into a chamber, 10 million particles into an enclosed chamber. And with our device, we then turn it on its lowest setting. And within 3 minutes, it had deactivated 99.9% of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So we proved in a lab setting that we could deactivate 99.9%. We also did a similar test on surfaces as well in a different lab setting, and also proved a 99.9% reduction in the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So a lot of the full details of the testing is in those packets. You can look actually probably on page 9 and 10 and see some of the charts and graphs and some of the details behind how we tested and what the results were. But I wanted to give kind of a basic overview of how we treat the COVID-19. And just so you know as well, I think it's important to emphasize, COVID-19 is an envelope virus, and any variant that comes out, whether it be the Delta, the Lambda, or whatever other name they come up with, that's also an envelope virus. So we know we hold ourselves to a higher standard than envelope virus. They are actually probably on the lower side of the hierarchy of pathogens. The more difficult pathogens to treat are spores and mold and fungus and bacteria. And since we are successful in treating those, we know we're going to be successful in treating the envelope viruses such as the COVID-19. But everybody was asking, you have to prove it, and you need to document it, and you need to do it in an independent lab. And that's what we did. So we do have all the backings and the support and the data to back up what we say. But we also understand too that lab testing and hospital testing is one thing. We also look at real world on-site environmental testing. And over the last 18 months, we have done this on-site environmental testing in various entities such as buildings and schools, hospitals, long-term care facilities, dialysis clinics, casinos, and sports programs. And just over the last few months, with the coordination of Major Ricky Armstrong, and we appreciate his help and support, we wanted to conduct an environmental test at the McLennan County Jail. So if it's okay, I'd like to share kind of the process for that and the results, if there aren't any questions at this point.
Any questions at this point? All right, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. So anytime we do an environmental testing, we do not do the testing ourselves. We hire a company to do that. We want it to be a third-party independent company. So we hired a company called Lighthouse Environmental out of New York. They come in and do the actual testing. And on August 19th, they came to the facility in the McLennan County Jail, and a gentleman by the name of John La Rochelle. And what they did is they collected 25 surface samples and 10 air samples. So this could include counters and floors and phones and computers, benches and fingerprint machines, and a lot of different areas that are many times high touch points within the facility. And then they set a air system in various places as well to collect air samples. And what we're looking for is what they call colony forming units, which is bacteria and fungus in those general vicinities. Once those samples are collected, they are refrigerated and overnighted to a lab, and it's actually a lab called Resinova Laboratories in Silver Springs, Maryland. And Resinova then takes the samples and they grow cultures, and it takes about 5 to 7 days to get a report back on what the results are of those particular surface and area bacteria counts. So in the meantime, the goal of this is to prove the Active Pure technology can help reduce the pathogens in those areas. So after the initial testing was done on August 19th, we then installed and initiated and turned on Active Pure technology. We had some freestanding portable units that we placed throughout the area, and this was actually in the processing area at the McLennan County Jail. And we turned that technology on, and then about 2 weeks later, on September 1st, we then go back and do round 2 of testing, and the goal of that is to find out how did our technology do in reducing the surface and air contaminants in that particular space. So we were back on September 1st, and we go back to the exact same areas we tested before. We do the same 25 surface samples. We do the 10 air samples, and then the process is exactly the same, where they send those off back to Resinova Lab to let them create the reports and get the results back. So overall, I'll give a summary of kind of the results, and then we can talk about specifics if needed. But an overall reduction in air pathogens was 77% from the baseline testing to round 2. And the overall average of reduction for surface pathogens was 95% from the August 19th date to September 1st. So some areas were 94%, some areas were 99%, but the overall average, if you take the total of colony forming units and the reduction number, the overall average was 95%. So quite pleased with the results. And typically when we do environmental testing in some of these other areas, we're seeing 60 to 90% plus reduction in surface and air bacterias. So it's I think a good, nice confirmation in real world settings that our technology is successful in reducing those pathogens. And obviously COVID-19 is part of that. So I'll stop there, Judge, if that's okay, and then can answer any questions that someone may have.
Thank you.
Clark, this is Mike Dixon. Let me have you clarify something.
Yes, sir.
You stated it earlier, but this 77 and 99%, that's without actually being able to test the COVID, because you can't release live virus in a occupied area. But I believe what you said before is the pathogens, the other pathogens, fungus, mold that were being tested are so much harder, are way harder to disable than the envelope viruses, and therefore the envelope virus reduction would have probably been much higher.
What's their proposal? How much?
Yeah, that's correct, Mike. And as stated earlier, you're right. We know the hierarchy of pathogens and what's difficult to kill and what's easier to kill. And the spores, the myobacterias, the non-envelope viruses, and then the bacteria and fungus are much harder to kill than the envelope viruses. And basically what we're doing is we're just penetrating the envelope virus wall, and it breaks that down and renders it harmless and doesn't allow it to replicate. So we know with 100% certainty that if we're able to treat the bacteria and the mold and the spores in the area with that type of reduction, we're going to be successful with the COVID-19. And you're right, we can't release that and do actual testing in a room with COVID-19 because we don't want to release that. That's why they do it in the labs in a safe environment.
Other questions?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just had one. There's a
Hi.
lot of information in the packet, but there's no information, I guess, on the test that you ran out at the Highway 6 jail. Is it any way that we can get a copy of that report?
Yes, ma'am, you certainly can. And I think has been provided to the county, but I don't think it may not have been included in that handout, but we can certainly provide more details. And I'm actually also waiting on a full report from Resinova Labs as well. But the summary and the areas that were tested and the results of each areas are available. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Dustin has those and I have those. We will get them to you.
Okay.
Commissioner Smith?
Wouldn't the lab test have been a much more accurate result because it was a controlled environment? Because theoretically, the surface exams, we don't know that the overnight crew didn't clean right before the second test was taken, and we don't know how much air was in and out in the area in between the two tests, but the controlled environment in the lab seems to be extremely successful.
Yes, sir. That is correct. As always in a control, you're always going to have maybe a more accurate result of a specific virus that you're treating for, and that's a little bit of the challenge with any type of testing. Is something like COVID-19. We can't really test that in a real world environment, but what we do know, based on hospital testing and some of the other environmental testing that we've done, we can test for fungus and bacteria and MRSA and staph, and we've done that successfully. So we know if we're treating those and we're treating those successfully, the envelope virus itself will be treated as well.
Sure. Thank you.
I think one of the things too is that we wanted to see, or they wanted to show us in a specific area that we are always concerned about the spread of any kind of cold, flu, COVID, anything else, is because of the concentration of people, that we want to see how it would look in that environment as well. And because there's different pathways, there's different ways that we move people, there's, all of that to be considered. Commissioner Jones, did you have a question?
With this technology, you would still need to wipe down surfaces, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
You're not eliminating any process. This is just adding another.
Yeah, it's kind of adding an enhancement to some of maybe the procedures that have already been put in place. And one thing you have when you're
so
wiping
really
down,
the spread of COVID comes from a virus landing on the surface, you touching that surface, and then you touching your face and mouth area, correct?
That is one way, yes, sir. I think we also realized over the past 18 months, and I think it was soon verified by the CDC and others, aerosolization was one of the major pathways of transmitting that to other people, because the actual COVID virus itself is a very, very small particulate, and it can remain aerosolized in the air for hours. And so one of the best ways to obviously take care of that was through
to UV
air testing. Yes, sir.
UV your air.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just basically it's latching on to whatever else is floating around in the air, because it is so small and it's so light, it can stay aerosolized for several hours. And you don't want to rely on circulation of the room to go through a filter, because sometimes it just doesn't happen, or it's really, really small and it could actually move through a filter and back out into the airspace.
So utilizing this technology and increasing the displacement of air as a combination would be a good approach to take.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Which we're looking at that piece. Okay, Clark, do you have anything else?
No, sir, I don't. I appreciate the time and be happy to follow up with any other additional questions that may come up, and or any other results that you might look for as far as testing. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dustin, join in on this. I'm going to kind of explain the path to go. This report, and you have it, and please keep it handy so you can look at it. this report, what we're asking here is to approve this report for recording purposes. The next steps would be to prepare an RFP for this type of process and product going forward, and then take that into as part of an overall plan that we have that would qualify. The goal would be that it qualifies for ARPA money, and in fact, we think from what we know now that adding this to our overall plan that includes replacing or enhancing HVAC systems, not only at the jail, but other places where there's a high concentration of people, would help qualify it for ARPA money. And so that would be the next process. Dustin or Mike, anything else?
I think that covered it well, Judge.
I think that, one other thing is like, we would look at high traffic areas too, like the tax office. It has hundreds of people coming in and out, plus a good number of employees. There would be different places than just the jail and the courts that it might be, used for. But the tax office would seem like a good place for it to also be used.
Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve this report for recording purposes?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. Thank you, Clark.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a
Everybody
good
have a
day.
great day. Okay. Thank you.
And Judge, while we're talking about American Rescue Plan, we can just stay and go to item K1.
Okay.
Regarding the U.S. Department of Treasury Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund American Rescue Plan. And Judge, as you said, working through the process to find out things that are eligible and working with both BKD and LAN. So Judge, I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the process we've been going through, and then Mike's been working on a spending plan that we have included in the packet as a draft, and we can step through it as well.
Okay, thank you. Basically, since the news broke, there's certain projects that we're interested in doing within the county that would qualify, as well as projects outside the county. In other words, for nonprofits that possibly lost revenue due to COVID, or nonprofits that have plans to be effective in avoiding COVID spread. And so all these requests have come in, or started coming in, and of course the newspaper's done a good job on covering what these funds could be used for. The city of Waco has put in a website that has input from the public that they will share with us, that we'll use as part of our material. And then we, as you recall, we have hired two consultants. One's BKD, an accounting firm that's been successful in qualifying programs under the prior funding on the CARES Act, and then also analyzing many of these projects that we have in the city of Waco have to see that they hit all those key points that the Treasury Department is making sure that we have for proper funding. And then the other is LAN, engineering firm, primarily focused on more what I call hard infrastructure, which would be water, sewer, anything that would qualify into that. We need an engineering type entity to look at that. Tom Ray is representative for LAN, is doing that, very familiar with water in the community as well as other infrastructure projects. Then those items that, in those requests, if it looks like they qualify or have a good chance of qualifying under the ARPA funding, then those lists, and there's a spreadsheet that's being updated that we'll put like on the budget drive, similar to the budget drive, that all the commissioners and anyone else can access and look at those. And then we will prioritize the remaining projects that have not already been approved. And part of this is, the requirement is to provide a funding plan to the Department of Treasury that outlines exactly, or I guess more broadly, Mike, but for what we could, we plan on using these funds for. And then it's my understanding that there can be modifications within that funding plan going forward. But Mike, I'd turn that over to you to talk about that.
Okay, well, really, the spending plan is meant to kind of provide a guideline so that we don't have, reactionary actions. So that we're not taking every request that comes in and immediately trying to work on it. That to explain what projects have already been approved. We're funded non-county projects, so the Waco Family Medicine, the Heart Texas Region MHMR, that's 5.5 million, then 10,000 on the Waco Cultural Arts Fest event. Then you go to proposed county projects, and we have 3 in there. The HABAC project, which none of our systems introduce outdoor air, and of course, bringing in outdoor air and increasing ventilation will dilute, pathogens. It's effective against, and it's effective against fungi and other things. The other thing is so that's a significant amount there for all those different areas to be have new HABAC units installed. Then the air purification units is another area which you just heard, and hopefully that's something that we do. It seems like a very effective way of addressing things. Of course, we can't go directly with this firm without going through RFPs, but it seems like they're the only one. They may be the sole source of this technology, but to be safe, we're doing RFPs because we don't want to end up having to pay money back. And then the third project is the downtown jail project, which, is converting the old downtown jail into courtrooms and court offices. That also includes new HABAC system and air purification, but it helps with the ability to modify the floor plan to add COVID mitigation, social distancing. There'll be bigger jury boxes. The gallery will have movable seating instead of the historically protected benches. There's, a lot of things that go into that will help us, help our courts meet safely, and it'll help deal with the growing backlog. We've been having to rent venues, and there's civil trials are off right now. And if you are able to get the criminal trials rolling, that ends up taking people out of your jail. The price on that is roughly between $25 million and $30 million. So that's a significant chunk of the overall grant. The way to not create unreasonable expectations because of all the money that's going to county projects. The plan would be to start out with a small amount. Well, it's not small by our needs, but to start out with like $2 million that's available for eligible non-county projects or programs. And then after we get the costing and the contingencies on the county projects, look and see what we have and add any additional funding that's remaining to this initial fund of 2 million to increase. You know, there's definitely going to be probably more added to it, but we just don't want to, you know, put a big number in there and then find out that we have costing issues on our own projects. This also is meant to make some uniformity in how to apply for programs. The applications should come through the county judge's office so Dustin can, you know, put them on the Excel, and we can start looking at them. Send them to BKD, etc. They shouldn't be dealing directly with our consultants, and the decision on any non-county project, well, on county projects too, but is made by the commissioners. First, it's looked at by the consultants to determine whether it's eligible. Eligible projects are turned over to the commissioners court that will be the sole decision maker on those. If selected, to receive a subrecipient grant, the applicant has to execute a subrecipient agreement. Now, then there's a list of factors that is meant to help determine what type of non-county projects, we would want to proceed with. And you're not constrained to this list, nor is the Commissioners Court required to prioritize factors based on their position on this list. But the factors are whether the project mitigates or fights the pandemic. Does the project provide a long-term solution or only short-term relief? Does the project address adverse economic effect of the pandemic on underserved or historically underutilized businesses? Does the project relieve taxpayers for paying for a solution? What scope of area or population are benefited by the project? And does the project benefit public health safety and welfare, such as drinking water projects or sewerage projects? And, those are just some examples, but obviously you could probably come up with 6 more. But those are just things that seem to be in line with ARPA requirements. And the whole reason for this is just to put us in a situation where we have a plan going forward, and not just responding knee-jerk to projects as they come in. Any questions?
Any questions anyone have?
Couple of comments, if I can remember them all.
Okay.
I would say, this is just my own personal observations. if we have applications that come in that are located in, from nonprofit or whomever, and they're within a city, then I would be interested in seeing if that city received any ARPA money, or are they willing also to fund part of the project, and it not just be on our shoulders? That's one thought.
We can add that as a factor.
Yeah. Another thought would be, I gotta think about it now. If it's a public health type project, whether it be water, sewage, whoever's involved in that request, or what are they bringing to the table also financially to support the project? That would be along the same line as a nonprofit within a city, so forth. That's an interest I would have or would be interested in.
That's what I agree with you on that.
Thirdly, you're saying everything goes to the judge's office, then to the consultants, then back to the commissioner's court? Is there a
Right.
reason, does that put an undue burden on the judge's office for everything to have to come through there first? If the consultants are going to look at it anyhow and decide if it's eligible or not?
We're just needing to know what all's there. The consultants don't want to get something that the county doesn't even know about. And so we're wanting to get it on a list and send it to the consultant, instead of things going to the consultant and us not even knowing about it.
You're saying the consultant is not going to tell us when they get
I think a lot of it has to do with the discussion on what the request is, and to be sure we understand it, that we can explain it. But sometimes, well, like BKD, they're kind of, they don't know what our feeling is about it, and so they would have to, we'll end up having to have the same meeting after BKD talked to them, to go back and have those people explain exactly what they want and why.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you don't feel like it's put an undue burden on your office, that's fine.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do, actually.
Well, yeah, well, we also hired two consultants.
Well, we, absolutely, and I agree with you there, but I think that we would want to be, so Dustin can get it, and, what they might need, he can be the air traffic controller and really understand what the need is. I would, just listening and sitting in with these meetings with the consultants, that, in my opinion, Dustin and Mike know as much as they do, but yet we need that third party stamp of approval, so Francis feel comfortable as well going forward. And by the way, Francis is a part of that first initial group too, so.
Okay. Two other comments that I'll be quiet. As this money is let to these different entities, whomever they might be, I would hope that we would periodically get some updates from them to know that, hey, the project is moving forward, or there's actually something happening. So I know we've already let money, what's happening, I guess.
Mr. Smith, we have a subrecipient agreement they have to sign. It requires reporting, and it also says that you've essentially stepped into our shoes. So if there's any violations in how you operate this, you indemnify and hold us harmless.
Okay.
Is there a time frame in that subrecipient agreement? Like I know with TIF, you have to initialize within 6 months, or some amount of time.
We would get that information as part of what they're submitting, or if they don't submit it, we'll get that information. The outside edge is you have to commit the money by December 2024. You have to use it by December 2026. But on a lot of these projects, they're going to come inside that. So you know, we need to have whatever their proposed, their existing proposed completion dates are, we would probably just stick with them.
Plus, the court approves all the subrecipient agreements, so as you're looking at those, if you think of things that should be added in there, any requirements and all, we'll discuss that, and Mike will craft it like we want it. Now, I will say on the two entities that we've already approved funding on, we get reports from them already because of our other relationships that we have and obligations that we have from financials and those things. And so they generally give us a report on anything that we want, and they would tell you, how different projects are working. The thing I'd be interested in with Waco Family Medicine is how their fundraising's going. I know that they are expanding programs that we wanted them to expand. And I think from the crisis center is we've still got a lot of discussion on how that actually functions with law enforcement and the medical community, the psychiatric community, and how that actually works. We've got general ideas, but they'll be drawn out. Those are things that we want to know. How they're going.
And we'll get that information, but really on those two, the primary thing to make sure it fits ARPA, we've done 2 layers. First of all, giving them the money to expand probably would just qualify on its own. But we did a second layer and said that the money that we give them has to be used for specific parts of the project, like HVAC, expansion of areas for social distancing, increasing staff, stuff like that. So we've got different areas where, on top of just the fact that they probably would qualify anyway, we've even made it more clear that they would qualify by the areas that they can actually receive money for.
Any other questions?
Well, I want just one other statement, and I recognize that a lot of these numbers are very rough numbers that we put in here, and I understand that. I just know that there's some infrastructure projects out there in different parts of the county that'll have if they were able to get completed, would have a very positive impact on economic development for the future. I'm just hopeful that some way we can find a way to that more money will come back into this fund to look at some of those projects in the future.
Great.
Be it.
Francis, have you looked at this document? Have you?
Yes. You're talking about the spending plan?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. And so, it is, a summary, brief summary of, what your plan is at this point in time. And like Mike said, you can revise that as you go along. I see it, as just a way to communicate to the community and to other entities, what your thoughts are now. But of course, we will, until you as a court make a formal approval of any of these projects at any amount, we would never release any funds, of course, without court approval.
Right.
And I believe that there's going to be another set of infrastructure money. There's going to be another package of money that's whether it's 1.1 trillion or 2.9 trillion or
right.
100 trillion or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Then it's coming.
Yeah. One thing about that.
And I think hopefully it will be more. It won't be as broad as this ARP money is, and it'll be more, for roads and water systems and things like that.
In talking to Senator Cruz's staff and Senator Cornyn's staff, that this will not come down directly to the counties and the cities. It'll be all through grant request. And so we'll have to think about that and how we You know, at this point, we don't have lobbyists and we don't have a formal, we have grant writers in areas, but this may require us looking at a different way of accessing those funds in companies that are well-seasoned in federal grant ask. So it's gonna be different, and we'll learn more about that. I'm gonna try to find out more this week as we move closer to that vote.
I had just a quick question, or maybe two, on the draft proposal that we're looking at. And I'm glad we're giving it some type of structure and organization as requests do come in to the county and applications. So I'm thinking that through the sub-recipient agreement that's gonna get presented to the court, that's how we're gonna see the people that are coming forward and asking for requests of the ARPA money.
Right, and some of these are already coming from the commissioners' areas as well. And so this list, it will be put on a spreadsheet that you'll be able to access and monitor on a daily basis, you know, anytime you want to. And isn't that correct, Dustin? How that?
Yes, sir. So Reagan will maintain that list, and we'll find a spot either on one of the budget workshop drives or set up another drive just specifically for ARPA, but we'll get that set up and communicated to the court.
And I guess my last comment would be, I know one of the reasons that counties and cities were so appreciative of how the second process went, and that is that it came directly to counties and cities as opposed to going to the state, is because when the state got it, then the state kind of held on to a lot of it, and some of it trickled down to cities and counties. When I look at our plan, and we have, I think, half of the 49 million we've had since June, and the other we're expecting, I guess, next year, something like that, how that time frame works. So I'm wondering, is the 2 million set aside, because that's kind of roughly, what, less than 5% of what we're gonna receive in all, to go to outside organizations and entities, is that enough to infuse some of these entities with funding? Because I know some of the projects that have kind of come through my office, they are long-term, and they will actually touch the voters and the citizens, the taxpayers, right in their homes on some of the solutions that these, for instance, the water companies are putting forward. So are we minimizing the impact we can have for the community with an amount of 2 million, as opposed to maybe looking at that and saying, maybe we should allocate a little bit more for these type of projects?
This spending report is very fluid. And so 2 million was just put there as a holding spot. And there'll be a point that the Commissioners Court needs to go through each one of these and say, you know, what are the benefits of doing it this way, or you know, and what's the return back, and what kind of participation do we have with this? Can we join in with the city of Waco or other cities and all those, and we'll prioritize them, because there's gonna be more requests than there is money.
That's true.
And so and it's not too early to think about, you know, obligating the whole balance, the whole $49,850,000, even though we won't get the other half until next year.
Right.
So it's a working document.
Yeah. On that note, with the collaborations with large cities, I just don't want some of the organizations and entities that I have talked to that are kind of smaller and on the eastern side of the county, I don't want us to get lost in the mega projects, because what they're coming forward with are really solutions that are going to have long-standing impact in that area, and I just don't want us to get drowned out by the mega projects.
Are most of those the arsenic reduction things?
Say it again, Mike.
Are most of those the arsenic reduction projects?
No.
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 Just straight out
There,
infrastructure, right?
well, I
Pretty
think,
much.
well,
Well, one is a study.
I'll say
and
this,
infrastructure.
that I have no doubt that, the Commissioners Court, each and every one of y'all are very good at arguing a point or a point of view. And it's, so I think, projects, that you have, that you want to support is, tune up and you'll be able to debate that with the court, but at the end, it's a majority of the court is gonna set that priority, so, everybody needs to find their projects, or, be able to speak to them, or even against, certain projects that may be pulling money out, away from the overall. You know,
Well, getting back to the original question, the 2 million is definitely fluid because it was, it's kind of, you know, we don't know. We may want to go back and look at, I was looking at what our commitments were and, you know, trying to come up with a number that I knew would not create any issues with those commitments. But if, as we get more information on the costing, and that may be what we need to get sped up, is the costing on the county projects where we know how much is left, then we can increase that.
Right, I just don't want the county to take the hit that the state took with that criticism, and that is that money came into the county that is supposed to benefit the community because of the pandemic, but then we held all of that money for the county and we really didn't disperse it out to the community. I don't want that to be the perception or the reality of it. And also, I just don't want the rules written in a way that larger projects may supersede real quality, smaller community projects.
Right, they're not, and yeah, but I think one thing we need to remember is we are the grantee of these funds, and we want to benefit other entities too, but that's not necessarily the only goal of it. Is this courthouse renovation is sorely needed, and you know, so it's not like we're just hogging all the money to ourselves. This is something that, but for this, may not be able to be done, that would have a significant effect, direct effect on COVID, but also has a secondary effect of solving some of our space problems.
Say it again, secondary effect what?
Solving some of our space problems.
State problem?
Space.
Space, okay, I'm sorry, space problem.
Yeah.
I guess that would beg the question that I would have would be, had this ARPA money not come to us, what were our plans for renovating the jail? How were we going to pay for it?
To pass bonds, we'd have to.
Bonds?
Yeah, have to finance it.
Yeah, that's our only option.
Okay.
So this ARP money would, I mean, it essentially would lowers our tax rate.
Yeah, it does lower the tax rate, and many of the projects, it would be long-term benefits. But they need, you know, until we get it all laid out, then we can start debating on one compared to the other. Right now, we're looking at a project, you know, a project and how it would fit in ARPA. But where we'll eventually get is all those qualifying projects are gonna compete with each other. And that's gonna take some time. And a lot of artful deliberation.
We have time right now.
Right now to deliberate, right now?
But not,
I
not,
was
not, I'm
just-
talking about,
I know, I just.
the big, the big
Picture.
big picture type things. We won't have time in 24.
That's true.
In 3 years.
Okay.
And on a side note, starting, I guess, probably on the next agenda, we'll start building a budget. So I know Mike has, presented that really nice, the narrative of the plan, but as you approve, so the MHMR and the Waco Family Medicine, you'll be able to see, just like any budget that we look at, what we started with, what we've spent to date, what you have left, so, and we can get you all those updates each agenda.
Like, I guess, and I think maybe Pat or Will asked the question, when this money's allocated, that doesn't end does that end the clock from ticking on when we have to spend the money? Or if, I mean, we can't, we're not gonna allocate it to somebody named set on it for 5 years.
No, we can't. It's gotta be by once it's, the projects have to be approved, well, they have to be spent by the end of 26. So we have a pretty good,
We spend it or the projects that?
either one. I mean, well, if it's our project, we have to spend it in that time frame. If it's somebody else's, they have to spend it.
They
in that
have,
time. Yeah.
that we've granted to
Right,
someone.
and that's, our subrecipient agreement's gonna have to be.
And we'll have recourse, correct, Mike? I mean, if somebody's not spending the money, we've let them the money.
Yeah, they have to comply with the regulations, and if they're not complying with the regulations, then we can cancel the agreement.
And they understand
And
that.
Yes.
they'll have to pay it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a clawback provision.
And that's clear in the subrecipient agreement.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else on that? All right. All right, it is 10:21. Let's take a 5-minute break.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay, it's 10:26. Let's call court back into session. All right, Dustin?
Yes, sir. All right, Judge, we can go to item F, budget amendments under F1 regarding the FY21 budget. Francis?
Thank you. So the budget amendments that fall under F1 are for fiscal year 21. So the first one, F1A, is in the general fund, and this covers some of our countywide line items. One being liability insurance. There was a couple of our policies that increased mid-year. We wanted to wait and see where the total cost all fell before we came through with the budget amendment. So this is what will clean up that line item for the year. Utilities, we do need to increase by 100,000 to finish out bills for the year. A big portion of this, close to 60,000, was due to the additional costs that were incurred during the month of February for the inclement weather. The remainder of that 100,000 is just what we have run over for this year. So we try to budget utilities pretty close, but sometimes we do need an small additional amount there. And then autopsies, we will need an additional 10,000 to finish out the year there. And that's all coming from our contingencies line item. F1B, this is a request by maintenance of equipment in the sheriff's office. They're requesting to increase the radio tower line, as well as the professional development line for the sheriff's office. And they're moving from other line items within the sheriff's office budget. F1C, this is a budget amendment in the general fund for the Highway 6 jail, and they are needing an additional amount for electronic monitoring services of $44,100. And they are moving from the repair and maintenance line item in that same department. F1D, this is in the Justice Court Assistance and Technology Fund. JP4 is requesting to increase the other services and charges line item in that fund for some additional costs for their hotspot. F1E, this is general fund for JP3, requesting to move within their department into supplies. F1F, this is general fund for the district attorney, also requesting to move within their department into supplies. In F1G, this is general fund for Heart of Texas Fairgrounds. This is related to an amount you approved on the last agenda. There was an increased cost on a quote that had previously been submitted to you. So there was an additional $437 needed for the AHU coils project at the Extra Code Event Center. And F1H, this is in the Permanent Improvement Fund for the 2019 bonds or certificates of obligation. There are two adjustments that need to be made to the ADA lines, one for the general ADA line and one for the MHMR ADA modifications. And these are, the MHMR specific one is due to a change order that was on the last agenda. The general line is needing an additional amount for study cost that we are owing to CPNY. And F1I, this is general fund for Road and Bridge 1. I'm requesting to move within their department into furniture and equipment. So those conclude the FY21 budget amendments.
Okay, any questions anyone have? Is there a motion to approve those amendments?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Okay, then moving to F2, these are budget amendments for fiscal year 22. So we have a handful here that we need to go ahead and take care of. F2A, this is general fund for County Court at Law 3. So there was equipment that we had already done a budget amendment for in the prior year, but was not able to obtain all of that equipment before the year was out. So we are needing to do a budget amendment for County Court at Law 3, furniture and equipment and other services and charges moving from contingencies. F2B, this is a request by Constable Precinct 4. So when the original budget was being discussed and going through the adoption process, there was a different constable in place at that time. The new constable, Constable Guerrero, he is requesting to increase the hours that their part-time person is working. She is office staff, and I believe originally she's just been working 8 hours a week, and he would like to move that up to 20 hours a week. So this would adjust their part-time pay and related taxes and benefits for that increased number of hours.
What's that? Oh, go ahead.
Is increase then $7,912?
Correct, that's the total, yes, sir.
What is from Fund 101, $143,090?
That's my error.
Okay, that is, okay, okay.
Oh, in the notes, I'm sorry, I see.
Okay, 7912 is the amount then.
That is correct.
All right, we're good.
And then, you may not know this, but is that what's the hourly wage on that? 15?
I have my book with me.
I think we moved everybody to 15.
I can pull it up really quick. One sec. That clerk part-time is $12 an hour.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, F2C, this is in the Justice Court Building Security Fund. This is a request by Judge Villarreal to add additional security cameras to that facility. There's a proposal from KHT that's attached that outlines the details of that purchase. And I know IT has been involved, I believe, in that gathering of that proposal and the information, if we have any questions, further questions.
Is this something that IT recommends, or they've just been involved in the proposal?
Probably just involved.
Yeah, they just,
Yes.
this recommendation is from the judge, and to follow our policy, IT has to make sure that it's program, that it's within our type of equipment that we approve.
Okay, okay.
In this fund specifically, that Justice Court Building Security Fund is what it sounds like. Any JPs that are housed outside the courthouse can be used for.
Very good.
F2D1, this is a budget amendment requesting to move into capital outlay for the tax office for the alarm system. This also was something that you had discussed this last summer, and a budget amendment was done, but there has not been any work done on that project to move forward with it. So that will have to be rebudgeted.
These were the security buttons, right? In
Correct.
different places, yeah. All right.
And then F2D2, this is general fund, also capital outlay for the 19th District Court. Again, a project through Brazos Media that was to upgrade their audio video system in their courtroom. Not enough work on it to charge it to the last year. So that budget amendment is needed there to place the budget in the next year. And then
Again, IT was involved in that, I think.
How does that work? Like when we approved it being spent last year, did that show up in the end of the year fund balance or holdover from,
Correct.
So last year will have to be adjusted again, or you've already adjusted that back?
No, so
to
last
show that
year,
this wasn't
if we did a
spent?
budget amendment and they didn't spend it, it would just be unspent budget.
It'll show up as unspent?
Yes, yes. And we try to grab as many of these as we can before the budget's adopted. Are you gonna finish this project? Are you gonna receive this item? So that we know to rebudget. But like you can see, there's just always a handful that sometimes it's unknown. or they think they're gonna get finished and they don't,
I think
so.
you're gonna have a lot of this because so much of this technology and things like that is delayed.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're
So
right.
get ready.
And so we may see at the end of the budget year, some of this money has been spent up. They may have, in other words, of course, that's not a whole lot of money, I don't think. But,
Things that didn't get spent,
Yeah.
didn't get spent last year.
yeah, they didn't plan it for the 22 budget, yet they had to spend the money. So.
Yes, and so, you know, we start, along with purchasing, start watching open POs several months in advance of year end. They watch them all year, of course, but for this specific purpose, you know, making calls, are we gonna get it? Do we need to reissue the PO in the next year? So,
What I'm hearing the judge say, that'll affect the bottom line on that line item because it wasn't originally budgeted
correct.
for this year, so that will affect it. But conversely, last year's item, budget item will balance. Okay.
Because we were estimating ending fund balance.
Right.
We would have assumed that that would have been spent, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir.
Exactly, okay.
Yes, sir. And then F2E is general fund for information technology. And the request is to move from the IT assessments line into other services and charges. And this is for an increase in licensing cost for the Virtru, what do you call that? Like the email protection.
encryption.
Yes, encryption cost. So that concludes the budget amendments for FY '22.
Okay, are there any questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, pass.
And then I can go ahead and speak on F2F. The final adopted budget for the county library was received, so this is for the recording of that budget. When we budgeted for the county's portion, we budgeted per their preliminary budget, which was a little bit over $1 million. Their final budget ended up being $981,582. So that's $29,802 less than what we were expecting. So budget is sufficient, all is good.
Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Is there a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion been made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, pass.
Right, under item G, bids, RFPs, and RFQs. G1's authorization and recommendation for bid 21-012 hot mix cold laid asphaltic concrete, high-performance asphalt cold mix, and asphaltic oil sand. Ken?
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
We received a number of responses, and I'll just run through it real quick and then get to my recommendation. We received a response from Vulcan Materials on a product loaded in McClendon County trucks. They bid on a product CC at $51 per ton. And then on the delivered CC, they bid $98.85 per ton. They did include in their proposal or bid LRA type D and LRA type AA. We didn't ask for that, but I just want to make note they included that in their bid. We received a bid from Unique Paving, and they loaded in county trucks. They bid on a high performance asphalt cold mix at $90 per ton. And then on the delivered, they bid $121.50 per ton. Sustainable Pavement Technologies on products loaded in McClendon County trucks. They bid on a type F at $55 per ton. High performance asphalt cold mix, they bid $95 per ton. And asphaltic oil sand, they bid $55 per ton. On delivering the products, on type F, they bid $89 per ton. High performance asphalt cold mix, they bid $129 per ton. And asphaltic oil sand, they bid $89 per ton. Knife River Corporation loaded in McLennan County trucks. They bid on product type D at $62 per ton, type F at $80 per ton, and high performance asphalt cold mix, they bid $120 a ton. And then delivered, I will mention their high performance cold mix is titled QPR. I just want to make note of that. Delivered product type D is $72 per ton. Type F is $90 per ton, and high performance asphalt cold mix is $130 per ton. Now, on delivered, also make note they had a minimum of 23 tons, had to order a minimum of 23 tons to be delivered in county, and it's in a belly dump trailer, and they would need 3 days' notice. On Bryan and Bryan Asphalt, they bid on asphaltic oil sand and only loaded in McLennan County trucks for $56 per ton. Texas Materials Group loaded in McLennan County trucks. They bid on product D at $64 per ton, and for delivered, they bid on product D at $79 per ton. And then lastly, Waller County Asphalt loaded in McLennan County trucks. They bid on product CC at $75 per ton, type D at $63 per ton, type F at $75 per ton, and then high performance asphalt cold mix at $90. For delivering the product on CC, they bid $107 per ton. Type D, they bid $95 per ton. Type F, they bid $107 per ton. And high performance cold mix, they bid $122 per ton. So I'll make this recommendation. We recommend that McLennan County grant the award for hot mix, cold laid, asphaltic concrete, high performance asphaltic cold mix, and asphaltic oil sand for McLennan County to all vendors based on location and ability for product loaded in McLennan County trucks. And just as a note, type CC, the low bidder is Vulcan at $51 per ton. Type D, the low bidder is Knife River at $62 per ton. Type F, low bidder is Sustainable Pavement at $55 per ton. High performance asphalt cold mix, the low bidder is Unique Paving Materials in Waller County. They bid the same amount at $90 per ton. And asphaltic oil sand low bidder is Sustainable Pavement Technologies at $55 per ton. For the recommendation on items delivered to the precincts, type CC, the primary vendor is Vulcan Materials at $98.85 per ton, and then we listed a secondary vendor as Waller County at $107 per ton. Type D, the primary vendor is Knife River at $72 per ton, and secondary vendor is Texas Materials at $79 per ton. Primary vendor for type F is Sustainable Pavement at $89 per ton, and secondary vendor is Knife River at $90 per ton. High performance asphalt cold mix, primary vendor is Unique Paving Materials at $121.50 per ton, and secondary vendor is Waller County at $122 per ton. And asphaltic oil sand, primary vendor is Sustainable Pavement at $89 per ton, and no secondary for the product delivered. And just to say, we award to primary and secondary based on the availability of the product. I don't want to have it a time when they go to get something and that particular vendor doesn't have it. But that's our recommendation, and we respectfully submit that to the court for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the person agent's recommendation? Oh, I'm sorry.
One question real quick, Ken. Unique Paving, surely they have a Texas location, right?
Yes, sir. I just list where they list the bid coming from.
Right.
But yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to make sure we weren't going all the way to Ohio to pick something up.
I got you.
All right, thank you.
Well,
sorry, Judge.
That's all right. Is there a motion to
Motion to approve
person agents
the purchasing agent's recommendation on bid 21012 hot mix cold laid asphalt concrete, high performance asphalt cold mix, and asphaltic oil sand.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. Thank you.
Item G2, authorization of courthouse ground lighting proposal with Basic IDIQ Incorporated. Back in September, we had approved a budget amendment which moved some funds over to the lighting project and the permanent improvement fund. The proposal for this company was actually attached to that budget amendment, but we thought for good measure we would just separate it out and run it back through court. And then also going along with this is item I3, which is the payment application for this work. TJ, did you have anything to add to that?
No, sir. So this is just a supplement. We had a little bit of additional funds left in the original budget from the roof itself. Decided it was a great idea to go ahead and continue around the exterior of the building, changing out fixtures. We had a little bit of funding left, so this 9,900 covers what we didn't have remaining in the budget.
And if I could add one thing, the discussion on this started several years ago where the downtown community, I guess you'd say, talked about increasing the lighting. I think really it came from when the I-35 bridge lighting took place. And so having a historic building here and its beauty to enhance it more by more night lighting and the utilization of downtown for more night entertainment has grown tremendously. And so this just enhances the significant contribution our historical courthouse makes to that view.
So what year budget is this coming out of? Is this the 21 budget or the 2022 budget?
This one should be out of 21, the work
That's
was done
correct.
in 21.
Okay. So what are we actually money-wise approving today?
This is just the proposal for the budget amendments already happened. Just the proposal didn't run through court, except it was attached as part of the budget amendment. So this is just approving the proposal, and then down under I3 is the actual payment application for all the completed work.
Okay, those are two separate issues then. So
Yes.
we're approving a proposal for $17,026.95, and then the work completed under I-1B.
I-3,
I-3?
I believe.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, it's not yeah, where is it, I-3?
I3, yes, sir.
Yeah, there it is, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That would be my motion, Judge.
All right, to approve the proposal.
Yes.
All right. And would you also say that motion included approving I-3?
I would, sir.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass. Thank you, TJ, for working on that.
Under item H, contracts and agreements, H1 is authorization of sales order agreement with CTWP for copier for Justice of the Peace Precinct 3. Ken?
Yes, there was quite a bit of discussion went through court during budget on this equipment for Precinct 3, but this is just a sales order for the copier, printer, scanner, whatever, for $7,251.56.
Motion to approve the sales order.
All right, is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other
I
discussion?
just want to point out, we don't have the maintenance agreement on this piece of equipment yet, so we'll probably come back to court with that at a later date.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
All right, I have a motion and a second. If no other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. Thank you.
H2, authorization of addendum to agreement for dental services with Dentrust Dental Texas PC, dental care for inmates and detainees. Ken?
I discussed this with Ricky Armstrong, and this is our yearly renewal for the dental services out at the jail. And it's for a fee of $31.25 for each patient receiving dental treatment. And again, the fee is including additional personal protective equipment because of COVID. But anyway, this is our yearly renewal. It'll be good from October 1, 2021 through September 30th, 2022.
Any additions or corrections? Any-
If the CDC and ADA drop the requirement for PPE, will that 31.25 go away?
We'll have that discussion.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass.
H3, authorization of plan agreement for plan year 2022 with Texas County and District Retirement System, TCDRS. Francis?
Yes, so this is just the formal plan agreement outlining the changes that you have budgeted for this next year. The changes would be the employee deposit rate to 6%, as well as the additional lump sum contribution of $2 million. Of course, the 6% deposit rate will go into effect January 1st for all the employees. The $2 million contribution, I believe, will be pulled on October 15th. This is
What's prior service credit? It shows it 60%. What is that?
so. I guess for working for, if Anna's on, she might could speak more to this, but for working for other entities that may not fall under TCDRS, but I think there's some specific.
TRS, ERS, any of the
Yes.
state-approved retirements.
So I think just based on approval.
Do we
by-
set that 60% or,
You know,
or is that statute?
I'm not sure if you can alter that or not.
But that's the
I'll find
same
out.
as it's always been. I mean,
Yes, there's been no change made to that.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Well, I'm not sure I understand, but there's no change, so I'll go with that.
So you would only get 60% of your years of service.
Okay.
For
So say you work
your
for.
retirement.
I got it now.
well, let me give you an example.
Okay, you might have
My
a,
first day of work here, I was eligible to retire. Is that simply
you
put?
keep working. You hadn't let up a bit. Okay, now I understand it. I need to be told a story, right? Okay, thank you. Is there, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
H4 is regarding the master services and purchasing agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated, authorization of amendment quote for evidence software licenses for the sheriff's office. And I believe David Ives is on, but I can start to discuss this and he can add in. So the DA's office manages this system through evidence.com. There's been some changes to the Code of Criminal Procedure, which requires some additional or some verification by law enforcement when submissions are sent in. And so the sheriff's office needs some licenses to be able to support this. So the total of this quote is $28,800. That's over a 5-year period, which breaks down to $5,760 per year. And that's adding 32 software licenses for the sheriff's office. David, is there anything you want to add?
That's pretty much it, Dustin. This is just helping us meet this new minimum expectation for CCP 2.1397 and the expectation for our district attorney's office.
Okay. Any questions anyone would have? What's the pleasure of the court?
So move.
Second.
Have motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass.
H5, authorization of customer agreement and related quote with Inplug Incorporated for digital signage and display software licenses for human resources. Lisa?
Good morning.
Morning.
So this is the agreement for software that was previously approved in our IT assessments budget for the HR office for their digital signage. This will display outside in their lobby and the tax lobby There is a one-time charge of $2,052 and the shipping of $22. And then there is, oh, I'm sorry, I think I said that backwards. Excuse me. So I think the one-time charge is $338 plus the shipping of 22. And then there will be the recurring annual charge of $2,052 for their license plan. This will get them 12 months of service.
Okay, does everybody understand what this does?
We advertising job vacancies and other information? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, sir. And also in the tax lobby, I believe it additionally identifies the offices and their locations in the building.
So this is, we're renewing this every year, is that correct? Because there's already, or is this a new service?
This is a new service. We had a different product some time ago that we needed to move away from. There were some security concerns with it that we needed to move away from. So we have them on a temporary system that I believe it is managed through a PowerPoint. This tool will give them much more flexibility and features with it. And this was reviewed with IT and the HR office.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Now, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Pass.
H6, authorization of software contracts with EDOC Technologies Incorporated. There are 3 items under this. H6A is Justice Court Case Management Software, H6B is District Attorney Case Management Software, and H6C is County Clerk Case Management Software. Lisa?
Thank you, Dustin. For the JP system, there is no change in cost. That is $39,600 for this year's service. I'll go over the cost of each first. For the DA's office, there was an increase. Currently, their cost, they're paid through June 30th of 2022. They paid $21,400. For their first renewal, they are coming out of their original agreement term. There was a slight increase. It is now going to be $26,400, and this will be billed in May for what I would like to recommend to be a prorated term of July through September, and set our agreement to match a fiscal term. We are finding as each of these new systems come upon their first renewal, their support terms are not always aligning with their invoiced term. So, I've talked with, I mentioned this to court in our last meeting, and this has been discussed with the departments, the purchasing director, Dustin and the auditor's office, and everyone is supportive of this request. I've spoken to the EDOC president, and she is also agreeable to support this change and will prorate those terms as needed to make this alignment. So for the DA's office, they are currently invoiced through March of 2022, and that rate was $40,000. As we enter into the first annual renewal, I'm sorry, this is for the county clerk's office. So they are paid through March 31st, 2022 at a rate of $40,000 for the annual period. This will be increased to $45,000 at that time for April. And again, I would like to recommend through September of 2022. That period, that 6-month prorate will be $22,500. They do have another service. It's their hosted online index. That one is also currently paid up. Let's see, this one is paid up through May 31st of 2022. And it was for a rate of $5,000. That rate stays the same when they renew this year. It would be for a prorated term of June through September at a cost of $1,666.67. Sorry, that was a mouthful. So that is our recommendation to proceed with that and altering those terms to align with our fiscal year October 2021 through September of 2022, and providing for the prorating of all of the services within these three offices.
Lisa, I speaking for myself, I appreciate the work that y'all done in lining these contracts up to run concurrently with the fiscal year. It just makes a lot more sense to me, and I appreciate all your effort. And with that in mind, I would make the motion that we approve your recommendation.
All right, is there a second? I'll second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
Judge, I did want to say one more thing just for the record. I forgot to mention through this. There was also a request from the auditor's office that the EDOC Technology Group disclose any fee increases prior to our budget hearings, and they have agreed to give us that information prior to July 1st of every budget year.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Under item I, capital improvement and construction projects, I-1s regarding ADA renovations to MHMR Crisis Center, bid 21-003, agreement with HCS Incorporated. I-1A is authorization of payment application number 4. Ken?
Yes, sir. They submitted a pay application of $251,939.79. I believe TJ's looked over this, and Gerald Vickers has signed off on the pay app, so that this should be good to go.
All right, are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the authorization of payment application number 4?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass.
I'll go ahead and read these next two in case the court wants to take them together. I-1B is authorization of field order number 2, and I-1C is authorization of change order number 2.
Okay.
TJ?
So field order number 2 takes care of the interior door hardware in the facility. The original scope of work did not capture the entire facility, so we wanted to make sure we include that in the major project. So this is the change order associated with that.
So the change order, the original contract for doors and hardware material did not take into consideration the doorknobs?
That's correct. In the entire facility, it covered a small portion of the building, but didn't capture everything that was needed.
All right.
All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve, what is that? I-1B and I-1C?
Yes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. TJ, before we call the vote, once we finish this project, would you say that this building is fully renovated?
It will be fully renovated after we get back the structural engineer's investigation report on the other side of the building on the plumbing chases. You know, we've got CP&Y that's doing the investigation work to find out what exactly the extent of the damages are underneath the slab. Once that's come to us and we approve a project to correct those conditions, then that building will be pretty much fully renovated.
So we've got more money to spend on it, sounds like, to get it to that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on those two agenda items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Pass.
I-2 regarding capital improvement projects for the Cameron Park Zoo, agreement with City of Waco. There are two items here as well. I-2A is authorization of invoice number 16825 for the Education Center and Veterinary Hospital. I-2B is authorization of invoice number 16826 for the Hoofstock Barn. Francis?
Yes, these are the first two requests we've received from the city of Waco to reimburse them for costs related to the zoo projects that the bond was issued for in 2020. So like Dustin said, the first is for the Education Center and Veterinary Hospital, second for the Hoofstock Barn. We've reviewed both and we'll continue to bring these forward as they.
So the contractor issues or prepares the draw. Then the architect reviews it, that it was work that was supposed to be done and look at the work. And then it comes to the city reviews it. And then if they are okay with it, then they send it to us for an advance. So you review it at that time and then we advance.
Well, these are actually reimbursing them instead of being advances. So they're
Okay.
actually going to be paying all of the bills directly to the contractors or the vendors, then submitting the paperwork to us to reimburse them.
Okay, so the city does that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. If there's no questions, is there a motion to approve those draws?
Move to approve I-2A and I-2B.
All right.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Pass.
Moving down to item K2 regarding U.S. Department of Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance Program. K2A is authorization of reimbursement request reports from the city of Waco. In your packet are reports from the weeks ending September 16th and September 24th, and there's also billing for the month of August totaling $316,448.84.
All right, any questions on that?
Dustin, you looked at those?
Yes, sir. We have reviewed them, and I believe Francis has as well.
Yes, they submit all of the backup and then we do an audit on the grant.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Item K2B, approval of Economic Opportunities Advancement Corporation's EOAC's request for reimbursement of funds and for advance of funds for administration of emergency rental assistance programs ERA1 and ERA2 and related procedural matters. And Francis might need to help me with this, but she and I were on several calls with EOAC last week working through this. Our interlocal with them actually allows the county to advance funds to EOAC since they do not have enough funds on hand to administer this program. So they've requested 1.6 million that they're projecting that will run through December 2021. They had already received over 420,000 in applications to date when we visited with them last week. So their request is for 1.6 million advancement through December 2021.
Okay, any questions? If
And we
not,
have those funds in the bank,
We do.
in our possession?
We do. We haven't received all of the funds for ERA1, but even without that, we are okay. And then, of course, the EOAC will still be submitting the monthly information that you'll be able to see and track, as well as for us to do the monthly or the quarterly reports. Yes.
But they've already had over $400,000 worth of requests. That sounds good. That sounds like they're doing what they need to be doing.
right.
Move to approve EOAC's request for reimbursement of funds and for advance of funds for administration of emergency rental assistance program, ERA1 and ERA2.
All right, is there a second? Second. Motion been made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Pass.
K3 regarding the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services Title 4E grant contract for legal services, authorization of Title 4E legal assistance claim for quarter ending June 30th, 21. Francis?
Yes, this is just our quarterly claim for Title 4E related to the legal assistance, and it is $41,999.67
And these are for legal defense on CPS cases.
on Title 4E cases. Yes, sir.
Okay,
So we can claim personnel cost, ad litem cost,
Okay.
as well as some other administrative costs.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Pose, pass.
K4 is regarding the Texas Indigent Defense Commission FY22 formula grant, authorization of submission of grant application and related resolution. This is the annual grant we apply for after our indigent defense plan is adopted and then sent to the Indigent Defense Commission. And the funding is then based off that formula, which is listed in your packet. And we just need a motion to approve this grant application and the related resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Pose, pass.
Under item I, Department Office Specific Requests, item L, Department Office Specific Requests, L1, Heart of Texas Fair, Extraco Event Center, authorization of sprinkler system repair. This is a proposal from Action Fire Pros totaling $3,925 for repairs to the sprinkler system in one of the barns. And did check with them. This is not related to the winter storm. This pipe has corrosion and numerous pinhole leaks, and is something that needs to be repaired as soon as possible.
All right, any questions? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Pose, pass.
L2, Information Technology, discussion and or action regarding Amazon Web Service cloud storage. Lisa?
Thank you, Dustin. I want to bring to the court's attention some things that have occurred with our cloud storage and discuss this with you. So in February, Commissioners Court approved our request to utilize Amazon Web Services for our backup cloud repository. It took us some time to get those things coordinated and perform the steps to get the initial data load into that repository. Our storage services began in mid-July this year, and upon receipt of our first billing, we discovered some discrepancies there. We worked with our AWS representatives to correct these overbillings that occurred due to faulty equipment that had been sent to us for the data transition. There were also some delays that occurred there. We also questioned the storage rates at that time. We were assured these charges would be corrected. They did make appropriate adjustments for the equipment-related charges, but the rate charges, they said, were correct. So we went through this with them and discovered that they were not charging us the cold storage repository rates we had been quoted, and instead were charging us their S3 repository rates, which is their hot storage. That is at a much higher cost. We also learned that we'd been given inaccurate information during our initial interactions with their representative. We received incomplete quotes, and there were also processes and fees that were not disclosed to us during that time. The client information that had been given to them with our intentions of how we were going to use this space were also not passed on to our implementation team. So through all this, it resulted in about 6 weeks of increased and unexpected charges. And we, at that point, removed our data from that repository to stop the excessive fees. This expense for that period was $3,583.07. Of that, I've requested a refund of $2,858.53 that would bring the storage costs back to the rates that we had expected and were quoted, which should have been a cost of $724.54. AWS has not made a decision on this request yet, but continues to reach out saying it's under review. I do want you to know that either way, I do have the funds to cover that expense in my FY21 budget. I'm just seeking to have that corrected according to what our expectations were. Going forward, we worked with the implementation team that we've been transferred to. We reviewed the storage plans and costs again, and we did find a repository that better met our needs. We learned that the Glacier storage container that we had originally requested, which is the cold storage, had many obligations that didn't really work the way we had anticipated. So instead, what we have come up with is another repository for intermittent access that does meet our needs. And we have continued working with that, only in a small increment. We have very little data there, so that we're able to verify the ease of use and what type of costs would be incurred, to understand that predictability. We also have returned to reviewing other cloud providers, because even with this new repository through AWS, it is at a much higher expense than we had budgeted for or expected in FY22. We had originally budgeted for $5,000 for the 120 terabytes we had anticipated storing there at some point. And we have now learned that that instead would cost us in the ballpark about $45,000 a year. So there's quite the difference there. We have found a promising option through a company called Backblaze. They are significantly less for the same 100 terabytes. That would cost us between $19,000 and $20,000 for that same amount of storage. I've arranged with this vendor an allocation of storage and a monetary credit of $4,200 with them to have access to a test environment so that we could get assurances of those costs before recommending that solution to the court. We are also vetting their security of their environment and that they can provide us a SOC 2 security report, to verify their appropriate standards there. If they do meet the approved standards, I would like to ask the court for approval to pursue use of that system, and would bring the results of that examination back to the court. And whether we determine, we recommend staying with AWS or changing service providers, I would bring that to the court before proceeding. However, I will need to make adjustments to my IT budget for FY22.
So what are you, Lisa, what are you asking us to approve today? Just your.
So for today, I would like to pursue use of that test environment through Backblaze. After we have received the SOC 2 security report and we have verified the standards that they are using there, if those are appropriate, we would like to pursue that. We have found, we believe them to be a reputable company. They have been in business for 14 years. They have some large clients. We're familiar with these entities. And so we want to look at this group as a consideration, as an alternative to AWS, especially for the difference in expense. It is less than half of what the AWS change would cost us.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners on this? All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to allow IT to explore cloud storage with Backblaze.
Second.
Okay, I have motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Thank you.
Under item M2, discussion regarding healthcare plan audit and related engagement agreement with Messier 42 LLC. Judge requests this be deferred again.
Yes, I recommend we defer that this time. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M3, discussion and/or action regarding the McLennan County Appraisal District 2022-2023 Board of Directors candidate nominations and related resolutions. This is the resolution that we have to have to the appraisal district before October 15th. So without another court meeting, this will be our last one before that date. In 2019, our resolution, we nominated Commissioner Perry and Mildred Watkins. We did those two at that time.
So you're saying we renominate them?
And it's entirely up to the court. We can nominate up to one candidate for each of the 5 positions that will be filled. But we just do have to have this returned prior to October 15th. And I did reach out. It sounds like Mildred is interested in continuing to serve. Okay. And I'm not certain about Commissioner Perry, but have not heard anything different.
Okay. Well, he's not here to defend himself.
That's right.
So I'd make a motion that we renominate those individuals.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passed.
M4 is discussion and/or action regarding Eichelberger Bridge, and this was deferred by the court last session. I don't know if there's any updates today or if we need to defer until Commissioner is back.
I think, unless somebody else has information, I would say, I'd make a motion that we defer this.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
M5 is approval of McLennan County holiday dates for 2022. Judge?
Okay, these dates are laid out. I think these are federal holidays as well, right?
No.
Well, let's see.
Some of them are.
Some of them are. I don't know if I could read which ones are. I know that MLK, Juneteenth,
Memorial Day.
Juneteenth state, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
no,
It's federal too.
it's federal too.
Okay, federal.
Yeah,
That's right, they did.
yeah, the national, yeah, the federal decided to
That's right.
adopt that,
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
yeah. Okay,
I bet they all are.
any questions about those on the list?
Nope.
If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M6, discussion and/or action
Hold
regarding
on,
litter.
Dustin, hold
Oh,
on.
sorry.
Commissioner
I'm
Miller.
sorry, yes, I would like to say something just briefly. In response to the approval of the McLennan County holiday dates for 2022, I would just like to say that this moment is special to me. June 19th, 1865 was a life-changing day for my ancestors. Juneteenth, or June 19th, as it is noted, commemorates the day that Major General Gordon Granger came into Galveston Bay and read the Emancipation Proclamation, in which President Abraham Lincoln wrote, "All persons held as slaves henceforward shall be free." That action on June 19th, 1865, I believe truly set our country on a new and better course. And today it is made clear that as communities continue to grow, they also become more cohesively whole in thought and deed. On June 7th, 1979, the state of Texas made Juneteenth an official state holiday. On June 18th of this year, it became a federal holiday. And today, as a descendant of slaves and as a member of the McLennan County Commissioners Court, it gives me great honor to see it become an official McLennan County holiday. And I would just like to thank each of you gentlemen.
You're welcome. Well said.
Thank you, thank you. Very well said, and appreciate the, bringing back the historical, activities that went around this date, and, thank you for bringing that up. All right, Dustin?
Yes, sir. M6, discussion and/or action regarding litter pickup solutions. Commissioner Smith?
Yes, and I don't know, is Ricky on? Major, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. All right, I'll start off by saying this was something that we looked at early on because we felt there was a real need, particularly in our precinct and maybe in other precincts also, regarding litter abatement, litter pickup. And early on, we were in communication with the Goodwill industry about the possibility of contracting with them, much like I think the city may do and some other entities or state. Okay. And as a result, we got some quotes from them, some preliminary quotes as far as cost, and for 3 people, the cost was about $80 an hour. We were looking at maybe 40 hours a month times 12 months, which would run about $38,000, and so we thought we would bring that to the Commissioner's Court for consideration. But if other precincts were interested, then obviously we would have to bid it out because it would be over $50,000. And in the meantime, I think Major Armstrong came up with possibly a solution that he would want to talk with us about today.
Sure, and I've talked to, I think, most of the commissioners about this. We have one current PUP officer who's working in the jail. And as everyone knows, we've had issues with finding trustees since COVID to work outside. They have to meet certain requirements. But what I'm proposing at this time, and I didn't know y'all were looking at hiring anybody, but what I'm asking is, I have this one PUP officer. We can put him out with a group of trustees and rotate weekly to each precinct. That way there's a schedule and you'll know when they're coming, and you can do whatever you need with them at that point until we have the resources to put all the other 3 crews back into service. We'll continue rotating until then.
That sounds like a good start.
Yeah, it
I
does.
thought it was.
Yeah, I certainly have no problem with that. Rick, about how long does it take to train a resource officer? Is there some training that goes into?
There is. So it depends on the route that we go. And I haven't had a chance to talk with the chief and sheriff about this. I've talked about this program of putting them out, but I haven't had a chance to talk to them about training and going forward. So if we continue with peace officers, what we're doing now is peace officers have to go through the full field training officer program to work outside with these trustees. We've talked briefly about working jailers in this capacity, but we don't know what that looks like yet as far as what the training would be with them and how long that would take. We haven't changed our policy at this point. We're still looking at peace officers. We just don't have very many of those left in the jail that aren't supervisors that are interested in these type of positions anymore.
Yeah. So what, in months, what are you talking about to train someone?
David Ives, are you on? Do you know what the process? I think it's like a 3-month training program.
Yes, Major. It's, I believe, 400 hours non-fast track.
Okay.
Yeah.
400 fast, okay. Okay. I'd certainly be willing to try this program. I don't, if,
Okay.
Which precinct does the PUP officer belong or go with right now?
He belongs to precinct 3, and I've talked to Will, and he's volunteered his van and everything else. So what we need to work out with the auditor's office, we can. But we're ready next week to try to get that started on next Monday if this is what y'all want to do.
So we,
However they want charge.
then we would need to work it out with
So it would just,
how we would charge it to
just the
each.
cost of the cost of the personnel, you mean, or, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, so it's a
Sharon.
separate department.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, it really wouldn't matter then, I guess, would it?
No, it'd be best, I think, just to keep it all whole
We
in
don't
there.
get any type of mileage or depreciation on that van. Do we, I mean, do you charge mileage or depreciation on that?
No, that would be, depreciation's kind of off the books on our subledger for assets, but, nothing that we would charge to those, to that budget.
So it's all doable.
What I told Ricky, any resources that we had, we'd be
Anything at this
happy
point,
to share to
Sure.
the initiative.
Sure. Well, I for one appreciate Will's willingness to participate with us, and thank you for that.
You bet.
Thank you for that, and Major, thank you also for coming forward and offering a solution for us.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that very much. So I'm muchly in favor. I don't know what we need to do to, I don't know if there's a motion or judge or what we need to do to move forward or.
I don't think, Dustin, I don't think it needs action, does it, until something's brought back that would be different.
Right. I think we can just, like I said, no budget changes are needed, and it can just be kind of a new process for now.
Yeah. Okay. Just for knowledge. Okay, thank you. All right.
All right, moving on to item M7, authorization of order approving the temporary closure of a portion of Ford Street in Precinct 4. We'd received a request for this temporary closure of this street. It'd be for a fundraising event for the China Spring Tabernacle. Checked with Commissioner Perry, and he is in support of it, and we are allowed under the Texas Transportation Code to temporarily close a county road in an unincorporated area, and so that would take place on October 16th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you.
M8's authorization of reappointment to the Heart of Texas Region Mental Health Mental Retardation Center Board of Trustees. They are requesting the reappointment of Josh Caballero to the Board of Trustees for a term to expire November 7th, 2023.
Okay, he served well and willing to serve in the future, so I'd make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
M9's authorization of phone requests for county court at law and the tax office. Lisa?
Yes, sir. So we have a request from the county courts at law judges for both of their jury rooms, the existing one and the new one that'll be built on the 4th floor. They would like to put phones in those locations. And the tax office is also asking for additional phones for a new position that will assist in answering the phones for their office. Currently, we have 2 new phones remaining in our IT on-hand inventory. And we have some older models as well that we've taken back from the refresh. In order to receive discounted Sourcewell pricing, we have to purchase a minimum of $2,500. And we also, this past week, received notification from our vendor that the Mitel phones, that hardware cost would be increasing by 10%, although the licensing will remain the same. So for those costs, the model 6920 that we normally purchase would be increasing from $295 to $324.50. If we get the Sourcewell pricing, that would be a change from $177 to $195. Yes, for the discounted rate. In order to lock in that pricing, I did go ahead and request a quote for 15 phones that they can honor up until October 14th, I believe. These 15 phones would get us that minimum qualifying amount in the event the court would like to maintain a new inventory, a new phone inventory. We have approximately 11 licenses available now. We'll be looking to recoup some more of those as we do a periodic license audit, so there was no need to purchase that. If we did order that this week, that overall cost would be $2,655. If we waited and purchased later in the year, that same purchase would cost us $2,925. So a little less than $300. My phone department has a budget of $5,000 for phone purchases. I do have an alternate suggestion. If the court would not prefer to keep an inventory of new phones, we could keep an inventory of about a dozen of the older model phones that were in better condition, and those could be issued to the requesting offices upon court approval. At the point we deplete that inventory, we could then look at making that discount purchase with the larger amount of phones. I thought that might be a good way to help, delay those costs and not have to buy them individually at the higher expense.
All right.
So I bring those considerations before you and look for direction on how you would like me to proceed with maintaining an inventory. For the 3 phones requested today, I can fill that with the 2 phones on hand and with one of the used phones.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
We're gonna put these phones in a jury room?
Yes, sir, that is the request.
That's so they can call to get an opinion from somebody else, or?
Well,
Maybe we should just use the old phones for that, if it's just, that seems kind of logical.
but in regards to the use of them, the bailiff, of course, controls what those phones can be used for.
Bailiff is in there with them?
Yeah, in there, so they.
They have unlimited access to a telephone?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with Will's suggestion. Let's use up our.
I mean, if they're
the
not
older
being-
models work fine, don't they, Lisa?
Yes, sir, they do work. We started upon this refresh about 2.5 years ago now, because those phones are no longer being manufactured, and we were having a lot of issues with various phones around the county, so we felt like they were due for a refresh all around. But yes, we do have functioning phones, and some that are in reasonably good shape.
And they're totally compatible with our system.
They are from the system. They are.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to use the old phones from the current inventory in the county court law jury room, new jury room on the 4th floor.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Judge, so is there direction, so for the tax
office.
request and also for how to maintain, an inventory going forward? Would you like me to make this purchase, or would we like to maintain the dozen phones as I
think the only change in your recommendation, or the more specific piece of it, was in the piece you talked about in those jury rooms that you use the older phones, and anywhere you can, I would assume that save money, it made sense.
So normally you buy 12 phones a year, is that correct?
Just kind of as the inventory depletes, we were making pretty regular purchases the past 2 years due to the refresh project. We would, order a batch and we would deploy them, we'd get a new batch. And so since we've, we're done with that project now, the occurrences of ordering would be, much less infrequent actually. So those costs would go up if we bought them individually as requested. So, I hate to spend
15.
that money there. And
We want to buy 15 or as we go?
Lisa, if the minimum purchase is 2,500 and the price is from, $195 a phone at the discount rate, is that correct?
yes, so if
how many
we
phones?
wait,
Okay, so
I'm
then,
sorry.
so then
If
how many
we-
phones does that give us if we use the minimum 2,500 divided by 195? How many phones are we talking about?
so we would get 15 phones to meet that minimum purchase amount.
Okay.
To get the discount.
And
So we would
currently,
pay $195 instead of $324.50.
and currently we have how many used phones available?
I believe we can set aside probably around 12, maybe as many as 15. We just kind of have to look at the condition of the phones, and they were operating when we pulled them out. So I feel like we can probably get that amount of phones and keep on hand. And then at the point those are delegated out through court approval, once I've depleted that used inventory, I would come to the court, let you guys know that we're running low. We would have a need then where I could make that purchase of 15, roll those out to the offices that are using the used phones, and then I would be able to recoup that for an on-hand inventory again. if
And
that
that
makes sense.
fits, and that fits in your guidelines of Project Refresh.
I would be okay with that recommendation. I feel good about that recommendation to you. We've actually finished our refresh purchases. We won't be purchasing anymore for that project.
Okay.
We've made that final purchase, and we only lack maybe 4 or 5 of those phones going out now.
Okay.
I support what you just told us.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion.
Yeah, I'll make it a motion if it needs to be a motion.
Yeah. All right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Under item P, McLennan County Radio Tower Project, multiple site expansion to existing simulcast communication system. Commissioner Jones had requested a report this time. Frank was actually traveling and going to be unavailable, but he did type up a report that's in your packet. Just kind of a quick summary of it. Precinct 1 and 2, those towers are complete and running smoothly. Precinct 3, and there was a recent meeting with DPS out at the site, and that's anticipated to be about a 9-month process. And then Precinct 4, there's actually a pre-bid meeting for it this week. And so all those are in motion. The Heart of Texas Tower relocation, that's through that Hot Cog grant. So we've been working with Tim Jeske on it and also with Sean Oubre at City of Waco. And I did just want to highlight what Frank had said about the work that Ken and John Strunk have done. They've really done a really good job stepping in and working on this project.
Okay.
So Judge, that's it. We can just accept that for recording if the court's okay with that.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to accept that for recording purposes?
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, pass.
Moving down to the supplemental agenda under item B1, Constable Precinct 1, discussion and or action regarding additional fleet vehicle. And I don't believe Walter April's in the courtroom. Francis, did you want to speak to it?
I think April was gonna be available by Zoom, or I can go get her if I need to. But I think the request was related to the fact that they had asked for a vehicle, and you approved a vehicle in the 2022 budget, a truck, a F-150 truck, and they're wanting to purchase a different type of vehicle. So just per the capital asset policy that you have in place, we bring all those specifics to you to make that determination.
And as far as you know, it's a similar vehicle.
Let me pull the.
It's a Dodge Durango Police all-wheel drive
Yeah.
Versus
versus a
F-150 responder.
I think we can figure.
Howdy.
Price is
Hi.
So this is a different truck.
Yes, it's just, they didn't have any of the Fords and they're holding a Durango for us. And so we
Okay.
had to, because we named a Ford, we just had to switch it to the Durango.
Yeah, and the Durango works good for you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions anyone would have?
Any difference in cost?
No, sir.
It'll be the same price.
Yes.
Okay. Only other comment would be Francis, when we do this, do we have to be that specific, or can we just approve an amount? Or do y'all require us to be
Well,
that specific?
It's really kind of up to you. I mean, if, I know sometimes there's a reason, like, you may approve an SUV over a truck because of resale value or length of time you want it in service, things like that. So, no, there's been times when we've just said, hey, we want this police interceptor vehicle with an amount. And if y'all were good with anything that fit into that category, then we would move forward with that. But when y'all specifically approve something, we want to make sure that y'all know what you're getting, because they're y'all's vehicles that y'all are allowing departments to use.
Right.
But yes, we could be more generic in that description going forward.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Man, we didn't care what color it was, did we?
Oh, yeah, we forgot this.
All right,
It's black.
with no other questions, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to, yeah, go ahead.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have motion second, any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. Thank you, April.
Thank you.
All right, and Judge, I believe that's all the action items.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the court? If not, it's, show it's 11:44, we stand adjourned.